Welcome to Audit Archive, where we run you through some of the most questionable and rather atrocious police encounters. Today, we're looking at a case where police officers assaulted a teenager by tasing him, pinning him down with a knee, and dragging him down the stairs just because he was in psychological distress. On September 21, 2020, officers with the Opa-locka Police Department responded to a call for help at the home of a 19-year-old male, namely Japhet Castro Reyes. His family initially dialed 911 and informed dispatchers that Mr. Reyes had mental disabilities and wanted professional assistance in calming him down. The family also told police that he was already restrained, so there was not much of a problem.
Don't worry about that now. What's up?
The thing is, I got a cousin, right?
All right.
And never what happened when that.
Okay.
I don't know.
200 kill some of the remarks.
He started doing like.
Where is he?
Lo tuvimos
¿Pero está aquí?
This is Spanish, right?
Sí, sí.
Lo tuvimos que amarrar.
¿Está aquí amarrado?
Sí, porque empezó a pelear con la gente que era local.
¿Tú no estás armado?
¿Ah?
¿Tú no estás armado, no?
Que me tuve que.
Está bien, tranquilo.
No, tuve que quitarme el pantalón, el cordón para poderlo amarrar. Tuve que mi mamá y mis hermanos.
Just hold the air a second. They're advising me somebody's tied up inside. Hold the air.
So, empezó y él trabaja en roofing. Él nunca ha sido así. Y empezó.
¿Está quieto?
No, acá. Empezó a botar todo el apartamento y mi hermano me habló que le estaba pasando. Y no sabemos. Y tuvimos que. Mira lo que tiene.
¿Pero qué le pasó?
No sabemos. Mira este carro de él. Él nunca ha sido así. Y empezó a decir que Dios, que él es Dios.
Ok, oficial, salte de mi casa. Tú no puedes entrar sin ningún.
Yo le di la autoridad para que entrara.
Tú no puedes entrar.
Yo le di la autoridad para que entrara.
Let's handcuff him.
Dice que él es Dios.
Oficial.
Handcuff him, handcuff him. Let's secure him. Mírate al revés.
A que me suelten, oficial.
No te vamos a soltar por un momento. Mírate al revés.
Oficial, mira que me quiten.
Mírate. Está bien. Y quítale el amarrado.
Perro.
Él es tranquilo. Él
Él
nunca
es muy agresivo, hermano.
Hold the air a second until we untie him and secure him. Hold the air,
El
please.
pueblo no quiere entender que necesita.
Quítale la soga, quita la soga.
Dígame ahora.
Yo sé que tú quieres, yo sé, ustedes son personas que lo quieren.
Un muchachito que toca para la iglesia, saxofón, piano y todo, batería. Y miren lo que
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo se llama él?
Soy Dios.
ya pede, hermano.
Quiero que se sacan de mi casa.
Sí, it's going to be a 43. Vírate al revés, hay que virarlo.
Dios,
Hay que virarlo.
perdóname, Dios.
Hay que virarlo, hay que
No quiero
virarlo.
que nadie me toque.
Si le suelta la mano, se va a soltar. Cuando le suelte.
Oficial,
Óyeme, we're going to have to.
yo no soy Dios, soy Dios de mamá.
Hold on.
Si Dios,
So,
Dios está
they're
conmigo,
getting ready. He's going to fight, he said.
quiero que me suelten.
Then, no fajen a la policía. A la policía.
En el nombre de Dios. En el nombre de Dios.
Okay, hay que virarlo. Víralo. Flip him over that way. Flip him over that way. Hey, more. Hey. Flip him over, flip him over. Flip him over.
En el nombre de Dios.
Flip him over.
En el nombre de Dios. Suelten a
We're gonna need another 15 over here. More 15.
They just wanted him to calm down. Now, so far into the encounter, it's evident that Mr. Reyes was certainly not in the mood to be restrained any further. He was already tied up and lying on the ground when the officers arrived, and one of the family members quickly informed the officers that he would probably fight if they tried to place him in handcuffs. Despite that, the officers decided to continue trying to detain Mr. Reyes. This is an appropriate time to discuss the usual protocols police officers have to follow when dealing with calls for help involving people in psychological distress. According to the Office of Justice Programs, police involvement with mentally ill persons is grounded in two common law principles. One, the power and responsibility of the police to protect the safety and welfare of the public. And two, parens patriae, which dictates protection for disabled citizens such as mentally ill persons. As with all law enforcement decisions, the police must exercise discretion in choosing the most appropriate disposition. Officers who encounter an irrational person creating a disturbance have three choices: transport that person to a mental hospital, arrest the person, or resolve the matter informally. In making these judgments and in trying to calm situations on their own, the police are called upon to act as street corner psychiatrists. At this point, the only reasonable decision the officers could make is to safely transport Mr. Reyes to a mental hospital, all while making sure the situation does not escalate, but rather calms down even further. Keep this in mind because the officers apparently took the complete opposite route in dealing with Mr. Reyes.
No vamos a hacerle nada. No vamos a hacerle nada.
No lo van a golpear.
Está conmigo. Dios es mi todo.
Yo
Sé que necesito de Dios. Oficial, suéltame. Que necesito de Dios. Voy a buscar de Dios ahora.
Hold on.
¿Qué lazo le está dando, Josué? El lazo.
Hold on.
Este lazo está amarrado.
Suéltame ahora.
Se le va a soltar la mano.
No.
En el nombre de Dios, suéltame ahora.
Te estamos soltando, pero.
Te estamos soltando ya.
Chepe, te está soltando, no te borras que te vas a quedar.
Llama a los otros policías que están afuera.
Dame paz.
No le quitas, no lo desamarres.
No lo voy a desamarrar.
Dios, tú eres todo para mi Padre.
Golpeado, me he tirado, pero no.
En el nombre de Dios, todos se salen de mi casa ahora. En el nombre de Dios. Ok, oficial. En el nombre de Dios.
Van a salir, ya van a salir.
Tranquilo, él va a estar bien. Él va a estar bien.
Oficial, en el nombre de Dios, quiero que me suelten ahora. Oficial.
Tiene algo con que cortar.
En el nombre de Dios, oficiales.
No, yo tengo.
Ok. Dame paz.
Hold on. Con la mano atrás.
No, déjeme pasarle esta mano para que el cordón corre.
Exacto.
Acepto que necesito de ti, Señor.
Hay que mirarlo.
Ahora sí.
Dios, toma control de mi vida, Padre.
Sacar el pie.
Dios. Dios, haz que tu voluntad
Don't answer.
Tú quieres morirte, oficial.
Suelta la mano, yo lo voy a tener doblado.
¿Cuál es tu nombre?
Lo voy a de fuerza.
Hold on.
En el nombre de Dios, lo escucho a todos ahora. En el nombre de Dios, suéltenme ahora. En el nombre de Dios.
Hold on.
Suéltenme ahora en el nombre de Dios. Ok.
Perro te van a
Rina, ya la suéltame ahora en el nombre de Dios.
perro de más.
Señor, llévame contigo, Padre. Tu pueblo no quiere obedecer, Señor.
Agacha.
Hold on.
I got you.
He's up power.
Ok.
I got you.
Hold on.
I got you in here.
Hold on.
Los escucho a todos.
I got you.
Dios, ayúdame, Padre.
I'm a flip it over like this. No, déjalo.
Cuidado.
No, déjalo la mesa.
Yo soy Jafé de Manuel.
Hold
Yo
on.
soy Jafé de
Let
Manuel.
others get here.
Y
Let
Jafé
others
de
get here.
Manuel necesita de ti.
Let others get here.
Jafé de Manuel necesita de ti.
Just let others get here. Let others get here.
Dios, haz que Josué Varela se salga de mi casa.
That's all I do.
Dios,
They're helping. He's a 43. No. He's helping. This one. He's helping. It's okay. Everybody's. He's outpowered.
He's helping us trying to cuff him. He's helping us trying to cuff this guy.
He's outpowering us.
We're trying to flip this guy.
He's overpowered.
Things have now started to look a bit ugly. The officers wanted to turn Mr. Reyes over on his stomach so they could place him in handcuffs. And after the family members weren't able to do that, the officers jumped in and used a substantial amount of force. As this was going on, several more officers responded to the scene, and one of them was captured pulling a family member away who was simply helping the officers. The first officer was quick to inform them that everyone was fine and nobody was a threat. They simply needed to restrain Mr. Reyes. At least 5 officers at the scene attempted to roll Mr. Reyes over but kept failing, and this raised a question. Why didn't the officers simply handcuff Mr. Reyes with his hands in front of him? Several instances showed that he had both his hands clasped together in front of him, and the officers could have very conveniently restrained him that way. In fact, his hands were already tied up when they arrived. It was them who asked the family members to untie him. So here we are as a result. One would expect that more officers responding would mean it would become easier for them to safely and non-violently handcuff Mr. Reyes. But that wasn't the case. Watch closely as you will suddenly see an officer aiming a taser at Mr. Reyes. What followed was truly ridiculous.
okay. Dios, hazme descansar en ti.
He's he's okay. He's okay. He's okay. Completely okay. Hold on. Mírate. Wait till it's secured. Hold the air till it's secure. Fuck it. Overpowering this. That's okay, Papa.
I'm gonna hit him again.
Está bien, es eléctrico. Es eléctrico. Tranquilo, no le están haciendo nada, al revés, no le están dando golpes. No, también.
Si tu pueblo no quiere entender, padre.
The floor is slippery.
As seen in the footage, a disgusting amount of force was used against Mr. Reyes. It was almost as if the officers on the scene were frustrated at the fact that they weren't able to roll him over and place him in handcuffs. That's why we saw one of the officers pulling out his taser and aiming it directly at Mr. Reyes. Then another officer ordered his colleague to taser Mr. Reyes, and that's exactly what happened. What's worse is the fact that the tasing continued for 2 minutes, one tase after another with short intervals. In fact, at one point ahead, you will see an officer drive stunning Mr. Reyes' neck. Referring to the official taser policy, the taser is a use of force and is to be used only when necessary to overcome resistance while effecting an arrest, preventing an escape, in self-defense, or in defense of another person from physical harm, and in accordance with this department's use of force policy. Officers will, if feasible, give the subject a verbal warning before using the taser. The warning should be an explicit statement such as "Stop, get on the ground, or you will be tased." The taser should be targeted as designated in training and considering the totality of the circumstances. The face, neck, and groin should be avoided if at all possible. Now, first of all, we must recall that Mr. Reyes was in a mental health crisis. The officers were called for help, not to arrest him. This fact alone proves that using a taser made no sense at all, as Mr. Reyes was obviously not being arrested. A crime needs to be committed for that, or at least a suspicion to detain him. Also, the guidelines state that the neck should be avoided, but the officer went ahead with it anyway, as you will see. One last detail to note is that, in the video, an officer is heard telling the family that it's just electricity, that everyone has been through it, and it only hurts for a second.
One hand back. The floor is slippery. Serrano, bring it down. Wait, gotta come down. Wait, no. Don't do it. That's not gonna help.
What do you mean, don't do it?
LT is not gonna help. I know, but he doesn't know it. He's a 43.
Turn around.
He's a 43, LT.
Okay.
Dale vuelta.
Really?
Dale vuelta.
Señor Fede Manuel.
Dale vuelta. Dale vuelta. Dale vuelta. Dale vuelta.
Por favor, Alberto. Es para tu bien, papito. Es para tu bien, Dios.
Habla tú conmigo, padre.
Mamá, ven. Ven para afuera, mamá. Para afuera. Para afuera. Para afuera. Para afuera. Para afuera.
Quiero morir solo ahora, Dios.
Leave everybody outside. Oh my God.
As if the use of force wasn't enough, one of the officers, apparently a lieutenant, was seen violently and ruthlessly punching Mr. Reyes in the face a total of 3 times with full force. The first officer even tried to stop him, saying that Mr. Reyes is a 43. This is a code used by law enforcement, and even though it's tough to be certain about what it meant in this context, we can guess that the officer was letting the lieutenant know Mr. Reyes was mentally disabled and unarmed or posed no threat. Punching someone like that, especially because he's pinned to the ground, does a lot more damage. Not only was Mr. Reyes' face taking the hits, but the back of his head was also getting pounded into the floor. So it goes without saying that this was an excessive use of force. As per section 776.05 of the Florida statutes, The officer is justified in the use of any force, one which he or she reasonably believes to be necessary to defend himself or herself or another from bodily harm while making the arrest. 2, when necessarily committed in retaking felons who have escaped, or 3, when necessarily committed in arresting felons fleeing from justice. We've already discussed how Mr. Reyes was not getting arrested, and either way, the amount of force wouldn't have been reasonable. But the corrupt and tyrannical officers weren't done with Mr. Reyes just yet. Watch what happens next.
Let's get him outside out of this slippery floor. Come on. Let's get him outside out of it. Move. Get him outside out of the slippery floor. Let's go. Let's go. Señor. Atrás. En nombre de Dios, todo el mundo se En el nombre de Dios, todos ustedes se van de mi casa.
Turn them over. Turn them over. Turn them over. Get on top of him. One arm back. Get at least one arm.
I got one. I got an arm right here.
No more tased. Ouch. Who's tasing? One arm back.
Okay.
One arm.
I got it on my
Where is it? Pull him out.
I'm trying to get the other one.
I'm yanking the other one.
Si me llevas ahora, tú puedes morir.
Get it, Chip, get it. Got it. There you go.
Leg, watch leg.
Ouch, my head.
Ayudaré. Suéltame ahora. Suéltame ahora.
Messing up my pony here. Make sure there's no fireman in his reach. LT, let's get the LT's leg out. 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 There you go. Bring the other one.
Get him only with one.
No, I got both. No, we can reach both.
Only one.
We can reach both. Let's reach both. Look, we can reach both. We already got it here. We already got it here.
Sálgase ahora en el nombre de Dios. En el nombre de Dios. Sálgase ahora.
Any other units running 315 to 2544 York Street will have this low. Clear headquarters at unit 4.
Tranquilo, papa, tranquilo.
Vamos a llegar, ¿oíste? What's all that shit?
Thank you, Rios, thank you.
Pero por lo que quería para que para primero yo.
Sorry, yes.
He's gonna need we're gonna need cuffs for the feet. Nah, not when he's combative like this.
This is the second one in 2 weeks, bro.
Really?
Yeah.
Same guy?
No, different one.
Oh.
Same stupid shit.
Here, cut this off if you want.
Dale.
Let's get some leg shackles. Some leg shackles.
What's the reference on fire?
As we've just seen, the officers dragged Mr. Reyes out and down the stairs as if he wasn't human, and even tased him again while doing so. At this point, Mr. Reyes was tased countless times to such an extent that it would be tough to figure out the exact number. Anyway, one officer pinned Mr. Reyes down with his knee, and the officers finally managed to handcuff him after almost 15 minutes of responding to the scene. Ultimately, officers originally reported that he obstructed justice and resisted arrest with violence, but that's not what cameras documented, nor how neighbors described what they watched. It was reported that officers did not arrest Reyes but instead took him to the hospital. He was later released. Photos provided apparently showed the stun gun marks left by officers. Opa-locka City Manager John Pate released the following statement to Local 10 News. The city is currently reviewing the incident in question. The city is conducting an internal investigation initiated by the city as this incident involved the application of force that injured multiple officers while trying to control a non-compliant individual under the influence of a narcotic. Once we have concluded this investigation, more information will be released. 19 months later, Mr. Reyes filed a lawsuit in federal court accusing Opa-locka police of not only entering his home illegally, but of using excessive force and false imprisonment. The 9-count complaint, which was filed against the city and the officers, also accuses the city of negligence in training officers to deal with the mentally ill. The lawsuit also names 2 cops with checkered records as being involved in Castro's detention. One, Officer Sergio Perez, was booted from the department twice, first after a car chase that led to 4 deaths, and then again after striking another cop with a taser. Another, Sergeant German Bosque, had been fired 7 times during a 3-decade career and beaten 3 raps in court. Finally, in November 2022, Officer Sergio Perez was charged with misdemeanor battery in connection with Mr. Reyes' incident. His arrest came after Opa-locka Police Chief Scott Israel asked the FDLE to look into allegations of excessive force against the sergeant in the 2020 incident. No further updates have been made as of the date of this recording, and the lawsuit appears to be ongoing. Be sure to check out our previous video where we cover another outrageous police encounter.